Again, thank you to Alex Phillips, Andy Brown, Deep and Desai for sharing your knowledge and your advice. I look forward to continuing this dialogue through our CXO communities. As the CSO draws to a close, I'd like to leave you with some prepared thoughts, which were drawn both from our discussion today, the subjects, and some very recent events. Yesterday, CISA released a Shields Up post where they said, and I'm paraphrasing here, urgent focus areas for every CEO. Empower chief security officers. In nearly every organization in this heightened threat environment, senior management should empower CISOs by including them in the risk-making process for risk to the company and ensure that the entire organization understands that security investments are top priority in the immediate term. Right now, what we're seeing is an escalation in cyber attacks, which place many organizations directly in the sights of attackers. It's important that we increase our diligence and buttress our organizations for what is very likely to come. Software, code, data. This is the sinew and the muscle of any modern business. Without it, the body of the business can no longer operate. Thus, ensuring their integrity is as necessary as protecting any other business asset. This is why it is a board level concern. As we heard earlier today from Deepan, regarding not just the complexity associated with Log4j, but the challenges associated with remediation. It could very well be 5 years, half a decade, before some organizations actually patch it. Sadly, this won't be the first time that critical vulnerabilities of this nature remain unaddressed. And in this case, the widespread adoption of this logging library and the complexity involved make an existing difficult task that much worse. Log4j and other recent high-profile vulnerabilities provide an opportunity for security leaders to rethink how we've approached solving for these problems. It's time to find solutions to provide us the time and the space needed to effectively address and ultimately break free of this very vicious cycle. However, one unique factor of Log4j is that it has sparked a debate on the reliance across third-party software and has started to place greater scrutiny on flaws across both open and closed source software and the entirety of the supply chain. As we discussed today, the C-suite and boards are eager to understand the true impact of vulnerabilities, and cybersecurity leaders are just as eager to explain them. Yet, for many security executives, the last few years have been the very first time that they've actually appeared on any board's agenda. Thanks to this virtual summit, we now have some additional tools to improve communication and collaboration between stakeholders where technical, financial, and business risks are balanced to create understanding and make meaningful progress. Today, our panel provided essential insights and considerations for helping security leaders succeed when engaging with peers and the board. There are 6 areas drawn from our discussion to consider as we move ahead. First, cybersecurity professionals on the front lines are doing the initial heavy lifting during zero-day-based attacks or vulnerability disclosures. They need the time and space to gather information, assess it, and to communicate it in actionable ways to their business partners and stakeholders in business reliance. We, as security leaders, must support them by providing them the time and cover through the management of expectations on behalf of all stakeholders. The coordination of responses and remediation, while starting with cybersecurity, requires engagement of peers across all operational facets of the organization. This is a cross-team effort, which is why ensuring a business resilience plan is in place and well understood by the team members that cybersecurity will draw upon when the time comes. Second, as a security leader or practitioner, you might not yet have regular access to the board. However, it's clear from our discussion that this is changing, as boards can no longer ignore the substantial damage security incidents can inflict on the organizations for which they have fiduciary responsibility. The eroded valuations on companies and the short-term and long-term impacts on profit and loss, and the more damaging loss of customer trust, are evidence enough for leaders to rethink their approaches to technology governance. These changes, however, are not unique solely to business to customer, where we are also seeing legacy security technology providers increasingly struggle to meet their financial obligation. This is not an accident, and it is certainly not a coincidence. Consider how your reporting style and your relationship with the board has changed over the years, and build new and stronger bridges using some of the techniques discussed today. Leverage some of the tried and true methods that bring initiatives onto the agenda of a board. Third, when a significant event happens, plan to determine what level of communication to have with the board versus other senior leaders inside of your company. This can be done through scenario planning and through the initial development of action plans. As we all know, action plans and scenarios are ever evolving, and this is an important tool that can be utilized for further engagement across an organization. Use what you heard today to determine what to leave out and what constitutes a board level communication event. Fourth, security operation teams must prioritize the day-to-day threat surveillance, incident response, and remediation. However, you also need to build communication processes and the necessary relationships to provide visibility and enable regular check-ins with risk and audit committees. We must balance the push versus pull of board communications by taking proactive action and engaging the stakeholders from your SOC teams to your most senior executives. Although at times it may not feel like some organizations are on the same page, ultimately, due to business objectives or mission-related objectives, they must be. Fifth, communication frameworks are essential for board-level conversations. They are the starting point for ongoing board and cyber communications and should include regular, comprehensive updates on topics impacting service delivery, performance, customer satisfaction, and governance. Spare the unnecessary details, data, and jargon. Consider the tips you heard from Andy, Alex, and deepen when developing your strategy. Sixth, you've heard what boards should be asking and how the board member's role is changing. At the most basic, ensure they know who in the organization owns cybersecurity, including its measurement, its operations, and planning. The board should continually see the organization's risk exposure and how it is measured. And importantly, share what the IT and security organization are doing at a high level to strengthen defenses utilizing the latest proven approaches and technologies. Today, we've assembled the most qualified subject matter authorities and experts. And during the past hour, we sought to provide you a comprehensive understanding and actionable takeaways. Our goal is to have a strong sense of responsibility and a voice that the board of directors will value at your organization. You can immediately take steps to safeguard your organization by enabling the board to prioritize cybersecurity as a critical pillar in business resilience and risk management. We welcome continuing the discussion at the CXO forums located at the CXO Revolutionaries site at revolutionaries.zscaler.com and through our CISO podcast found on all major podcast platforms. We thank you for joining us today, and we wish you a good rest of your week. Thank you.